Welcome to Thursday morning. I am John Funge, and I head up product for WealthEngine. And for those of you who may not know what WealthEngine is, I'll spend just a couple minutes giving you a brief introduction to us. We have a treat for you today. We have a really, really excellent panel, and hopefully we're gonna do our best to make it interesting, because I know it's Thursday, and you know, you go to a conference and then you see a lot of different panels and presentations, and it's our goal here to make this a very valuable 20 minutes for you guys. So before I introduce our panelists, I'd like to just briefly kind of give you a little bit about WealthEngine, because you probably know what Salesforce is. You may or may not know what WealthEngine is. So what we do is we provide wealth intelligence and analytics. And so what exactly does that mean? We take in about 500 billion data points. So if you think about that, trillion's a big number, from over 45 different sources. And we take that data and we produce rich profiles on pretty much every adult in the country. And those profiles, we have things that are very, very useful and very accurate financial metrics. So things like net worth, assets, real estate holdings, stock holdings. What makes our data and platform unique is that we have more accurate and more granular data than pretty much anybody, and the way that we kind of seamlessly tie it together with other lifestyle and interest attributes to give a 360-degree view of the individual. Another key thing about our platform is that it is seamlessly integrated. We have a very capable and comprehensive integration with Salesforce, and so we make all of this wealth intelligence available to financial advisors with a single click of a button directly within the CRM. We are here today with Suntrust, a client of ours, and we're going to hopefully dive into some of their goals and thoughts in terms of how they're leveraging our platform to build, to grow assets under management. Just a touch about, I'm sure you all know about Suntrust, but I actually found some of the facts a little interesting. 126-year-old bank, headquartered in Atlanta, 1,400 branches. It's about 24,000 employees, so not a small organization. And I have personally banked with Suntrust for 24 years. I went to my boss when I graduated from college, and my very first job, I'm like, where do I get an account? What do you? And he's like, Suntrust. And so I've been there for a long, long time. So let me introduce our panelists. So directly to my right here is Ilan Davidovich, and he heads up global wealth management and wealth and asset management for Salesforce. To his right is Norm Mason. Norm is first vice president for strategic implementation systems and manager. And then to his right is Eric Larson. He's senior vice president at Suntrust and director of strategic solutions for Suntrust Private Wealth Management. Welcome, and we're very thrilled to be with you guys. Without any more ado, let's jump in and start to get these guys' perspective on things. If you could each, three of you, just really quickly, because we only have 20 minutes, very briefly just introduce your role and your kind of thinking and goal as you're looking at things.
Sure. So I run strategic solutions excuse my voice, it is Thursday, and I felt like a lot of conversation through the week, so excuse me in advance. So my responsibility is really to take our strategy that we have for our business and really enable that through the technology solutions. And so the team that I'm on and lead is very closely integrated with developing that strategy to ensure that we're giving tools and resources to our advisors to achieve that. So from a goal standpoint, it's really how do we make sure we're executing against the value proposition that we're going after and do that consistently and as efficiently as possible. And we've chosen Salesforce to really help us enable those advisors to really deliver that to the client.
And I'm Norm Mason, and I work for Eric, actually, within Wealth Services Group. And, again, to his point, we're using Salesforce as our major CRM for, all of private wealth. And, our goal there is to continue to add technologies, applications, and so forth that improves the advisor experience, thus improving our client experience.
That's great. Ilan Davidovich, I'm with Salesforce. I run wealth and asset management. My mortgage is with Suntrust. You guys do a great job. Thank you for that.
By the way, we're open for business, so anybody else that wants to, willing to take that.
And I just have to give a huge kudos to WealthEngine. In my position, we get to work with many customers and many software vendors. And not only are you guys easy and fun to work with, but as you said, your product is tremendously valuable. Every wealth management firm has to both manage their book of business, deepen the relationships, grow it, and growing relationships starts with knowing who to go after. And you're right, $1 trillion is a big number. You're only half of that, but that's good. You're getting there.
We're getting there.
You're getting there, but that tremendously rich information that's really easy to contextualize and move forward on. So you're a great partner.
All right, right on. So first, so Eric and Norm, can you just really quickly give us a sense of just your Salesforce org, your setup, how long you've had it, and how, and then maybe also just kind of give us a little bit of a day in the life for one of your advisors using Salesforce at Suntrust.
Sure. So we've been on a journey with Salesforce within private wealth management for a little bit close to about 4 years now. And we really had some very specific objectives. So the first was really allowing our advisors to more seamlessly navigate our ecosystem. So in our particular business, I view us as a microcosm of a bank. So we deliver deposits, loans, investments, insurance, all types of services. That involves a lot of different applications. So the first effort that we had was how do you consolidate that into one single view? So we chose a service console to bring all of those applications and then deliver context passing and single sign-on. That was the first effort. Second effort was to migrate an older application that we were using for client relationship management, integrate that directly into Salesforce. That gave us a 360 view of our clients internally, as well as having the navigation that we had across the systems. The third effort was then to apply a planning approach. So being able to have a lot of information fully integrated with an aggregator as well as planning, because that really is the foundation by which we deliver services to our clients. And then pulling that all together so it's in one single application. Our next part of our journey now, and that's why we're doing a lot with WealthEngine, is how do we start to augment that information that we're getting, or that we're not getting directly from the client through aggregation. So making sure that we have tools that allow us to be more effective in prospecting, making sure we're delivering the right services to the right types of clients. As our books of business have grown, it's really starting to get to be more about how efficient you can be in delivering those experiences. So that's really what we've been focused on.
Fantastic. And so I guess if we kind of dive in, kind of get right into the topic at hand, sort of wealth intelligence and Salesforce and your advisors. I guess what is the vision there specifically in terms of lead flow process and how your advisors are going to kind of engage with this content?
Sure. So we've always done referrals. We were getting those from our branches, and the branches would always inform us they're really good referrals. No, they're really, really, really good. No, trust us, they're really, really, really good. What we have found, though, is over time, they just don't have all the access to the information that gets us in a better position to have a dialogue with that prospect or that referral that they're sending to us. So we were getting a lot of feedback from our advisors around, I want to prospect. I need to figure out a tool that allows me to do that a little bit more effectively. And in order to be effective, it means I need information. So we spent some time trying to understand when you need more information, what are you doing to go find that information? So searching, talking to different people. So it takes a lot of time just to get to the right person that you want to talk to. So when we started looking at WealthEngine, it provided us with a lot of those benefits. So it really gave us an ability to fast track who you're talking to, what they look like, and more importantly, what are the other connections that they have and affiliations. And so we're really trying to drive towards a more relevant conversation with the right people so that our advisors can spend the right time in the right places.
Right. So, in fact, I guess I would add to that. One of our clients actually did an A/B test between a group of advisors using WealthEngine, a group of advisors not, and found that the ones that were using WealthEngine actually were able to kind of close business in about half the number of meetings because they were having the right, most focused conversations with the right folks. What are your thoughts in terms of measuring this process?
So really what we've done is, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of referrals that we're sending out, and trying to really value those has been a little bit challenging, right? So you can say, we got X number of referrals, we close 50%. So is that an execution challenge that you have, or is it the value of the referrals that you're getting? So what we're doing now is leveraging WealthEngine. We have some specific ways that we're identifying where we're getting those leads from when they are from WealthEngine. So what we're doing is we've established a baseline for all the different sources that we're getting. So if we're getting them from a branch, if we're getting them from one of our centers of influence, if we're getting those from a client, if we're getting those from one of our other line of business partners, and then being able now to start tracking around time to close, average size asset, initial, your initial account size when you open them. How fast can we transition for collecting those assets? How then can we take the planning tools that we have and augment the experience that we already delivered just through the prospecting tools? So it's really about, are we really going to be more efficient with a tool like this? And then identifying some very, what I'll call sales-oriented tracking metrics to see if we can change our conversion ratios, higher increases in volume, and get assets over from a true prospect faster than we would maybe through the brand system.
Right. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry, I keep forgetting about the mic. No, I mean, the feedback that we've gotten from the advisors so far is, they're really excited to have the opportunity to have this tool to be able to get in there and get the more targeted data that they can use to better serve their client and, take the lead through the pipeline process.
I would add just 2 cents on this. We live in a world today where the expectation is that if you've shared information publicly, that the organizations that you deal with on a financial basis are going to use that information. That it's very clear in all the research that you read that Big Brother is no longer a problem. So in every financial services organization spends a lot of money to buy lists, right? To listen to social posting, to contextualize as much information as possible. But if there's publicly available information and that's been brought together in a tremendously rich way through WealthEngine, and that's handed to the financial advisor, they're just simply smarter when they open that first conversation. It makes perfect sense that they would close the business in half the time. It also makes sense that they would close double the business as well, because they know more, and they know more about who they're giving to, where they're giving their money, what they're doing, what their political affiliations are, and all of that can be brought to bear by the financial advisor.
And I would add one other thing. I almost feel like that with the clients that we start talking to like this now, there's almost an expectation that we already know that. I mean, I think we're starting to see a shift where the expectation is come to me with prepared. Right? And that doesn't mean give me a questionnaire and answer all these questions. They expect you to have more information about them already. And that's where we're starting to see this shift, particularly with the younger generation, is, you should have an idea of who I am, what my interests are, because I know that that's available. So as financial services starts to shift a little bit and starting to use all this data, I always think about we want more data. We've always wanted more data. Now we have a lot of data. Now it's moving towards what do we do with that and really act upon it.
Right. Every one of us searches on Google. Every one of us buys on Amazon. And the expectation when we go to either of those is they know everything about us. In fact, we assume, or I do at least, that they know much more about me than I probably know about myself at the time that I'm doing the search. Well, why shouldn't the great financial institution that's helping me achieve my financial goals, that's giving me a mortgage, that's, I'm trusting with tremendously sensitive information, that they're going to know that and use it and guide me to make the right decisions?
So let me ask you guys this. So Eric and Alon, if you were to switch places with each other, so now, Alon, you are in Eric's role at Suntrust, and Eric, you're in Alon's role at Salesforce. What would be your thoughts and advice, for sort of folks that are looking to use Salesforce, and for folks that, within Suntrust strategies for getting the most?
Great question. You go first.
Well, I mentioned this earlier when we were in the back joking here, and I really wasn't joking, but I think I would give financial services to everyone for free.
Services? I would sign a $100 million deal with Salesforce.
And there we have it.
So go ahead.
Well, I just have to start with a huge kudos to you and your organization. We've been a part of meetings together where you do what a great client and a great partner does, which is challenge us to integrate more, and challenge us to put more into the platform. You may not be using the entire platform yet. In fact, most customers aren't. But you are working to build as much as you can into it. In fact, what was it, a year ago, we were talking about how do we do DOL and best interest advice model and have a best interest standard and all of these things within Salesforce. So I give you a lot of credit. I don't know. I haven't been on his side, so I can't say what I would do differently. Which financial planning tool do you integrate into?
MoneyGuide Pro.
MoneyGuide Pro. So I would integrate MoneyGuide Pro and WealthEngine. All right. I think he's doing it right.
And we've had great partners with Salesforce, and they lead the way in so many different facets of our organization. But I think the one thing is there's so much power to the tools. How do you make sure that you understand how to use those and really help to lay out roadmaps for businesses that can allow you to effectively implement. And so that's been, I think, some of the challenges. I think if I was you, I would say, here's a roadmap for you to follow that can help you drive not only success, but also adoption that really engages our advisors in a way that helps them understand they're transitioning their businesses too.
We're actually working on that. We're actually, we got 5 minutes, great. So we're working on a blueprint, in fact, is what we're calling it, a 5-year long-term plan where we have a true understanding of our strengths in the financial advice space and wealth management and areas where we need to bolster parts of our blueprint where we haven't yet developed. So great advice. We're taking it to heart.
You guys have perfectly segued into my last question. So speaking of 5 years, it's 2017 Dreamforce, 2022 Dreamforce. What are we going to be talking about? When we're here in 2022, what are we going to be talking about?
That wealth management is a $2 billion business within Salesforce. No, we're going to be talking about how Financial Services Cloud and Salesforce is not just a wealth management platform. It's not just a retail banking platform. It's a platform that you can run commercial banking and mortgage lending and retail banking and wealth management. And for that matter, by 2022, 2023, Suntrust may be in many different businesses. You may not just be a bank at that point, right? And I would imagine that the Amazons and the Googles and others will not have just been flirting with the idea, but will be in our space. And they will force us to move in different directions. I imagine the whole tenor of this conference will be a little different in 5 years.
Yeah, I would say today we're so focused on enabling our advisors to deliver value to our clients, because if you think about the compression of fees and how we charge for fees and the regulatory environment that we're in, that's challenging. I think in 2020, is that when we're at? Where we're talking about enabling the advisors, I think we'll be talking about how are we enabling our clients to interact differently with us, whether it's through self-service models and things of that nature, but really how the client be much more embedded in the decisions, but really serving them up completely different. So I think now it's about enabling the advisors to deliver that advice. Now it'll be about how are the clients able to interact with us more intimately than searching them through the tools.
I think one thing that won't change, though, is the primacy of the human being, the primacy of the financial advisor, and our need to connect. And it may become passé, when you come to Dreamforce and we all talk about connecting in new ways. But especially in wealth management, the financial advisor and that deep relationship, I don't think can ever change. And the need to know more information through platforms like WealthEngine will only get more important, I think.
Right on. So, Jesse, you're going to give us an extra minute, right?
Yeah.
Right on. So we have, I think we have maybe a minute or two for any questions. 3, right on, thank you. Questions that you guys might have for the panel.
From me, I heard that the impact, the positive impact you had is around cycle times and faster conversion. Do you see an uplift in terms of your assets in management and cross-sell and penetration? Do you see some real kind of sales increase?
Well, we're still evaluating it. So those are the metrics that we've put in place, but we're already seeing that relative to the referrals that we were getting, what I'll call the advisor response to working those is changing. Right? There's just a certain perception of how the information, because I don't know. I know that we have X amount of dollars in assets. I know you see X amount of dollars in deposits. But when you start to have a broader view of those clients, they're starting to act on those faster than they would some of the other ones that you've seen. So I think you're going to end up seeing leads, conversion rates change. I think you're going to see them acting on those faster. The results of the business is still what we're looking at and trying to figure that out. I'm anticipating those to go down.
I have a question. Mark, how long have you been live with these guys, as well as you talk more about the features and where you see that interaction with them?
Sure. So we've been live now for a couple of months. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you a little background. So we did 2 pilots. The first pilot was very, very small. So we gave it to a very small number of advisors. And what we asked them to do is use this very short time frame that we had, look at your existing clients and start to establish whether or not you're going to believe in the data. It's amazing to me. You put all of this effort and all this information, all these trillions, and advisors say, I don't think it's true. Okay, so what's right? Well, I just don't think that's true. So you had to get over that. So what we did with this small group was look at your clients, understand those clients, and is it consistent with what you know about them? And we already had some early findings out of that, very quick. I didn't even know they had some of these things. I didn't even know that they knew these people. So that kind of started to transition us into a broader pilot. And it's that pilot now that we're focused on. So there's really a couple of different things you can do with WealthEngine. So number one is you can prospect, or you can see your existing clients. What we chose to do in this initial phase was we're going to load leads on their behalf. So we're doing some scrubbing and giving them clean leads to work from, and then giving them access to the WealthEngine data so that they can get acclimated to the information, understand what's there, and then start to move them to more of a lead process, but getting comfortable with working with the information. What was the second part of your question?
More about the 5 years out, what that interaction looks like to you.
Right now, I think it's going to become very bidirectional. I mean, I use this example a little bit like the Amazon experience, right? So when you're looking at Amazon and it kind of talks about, here's the next thing you should be purchasing and things like that, accelerate that to be more about solutions, financial planning. How are my goals being impacted by these choices that I'm making with the financial decisions that I'm making with my advisor, and being much more collaborative in that process. I think that's where the collaboration with a client is going to change a little bit in terms of whether you're looking at digital or just the interaction with the advisor. I think that's what's going to start to significantly change, is having a more vested interest, not just saying this is what you should buy, but really understanding deep what that impact's going to be. I think that's where we're going to be.
I think that's all we have for today. Eric, Norman, Alon,